Hey, everybody, how's it going? Let me get rid of this. Thank you. Happy Tuesday. See Dave's on. Dave's in the chat tonight. Hey, Dave, how you doing? So, didn't get your car out of the trailer yet, though. We'll get that out tomorrow or the next day. Hopefully, it's not supposed to rain next couple of days, so we'll see how that works out for us. But got a couple of things done this week. So one of them was we picked up Dave's car from the upholstery shop. DJ did a great job on that. I'll have some pictures and stuff to share next week. Hey Ryan, how you doing? Car's still in the trailer, so it's too hard to get pictures in the trailer, and the weather was kind of iffy today, so I didn't want to get it out. And did a bunch of stuff. We've been working on a lot of stuff. Got Joe's Corvette on the run. Came in overheating, not really overheating, running hot, and had a twitchy driving issue, so chased that a little bit. But we got that we can go over tonight. Last Saturday, we did the Muscle OThe Beach show in Delray, in an old school square in downtown Delray. It was my first time going to the show, and it was a really good event. And Mike Brewer from Wheeler Dealers was the guest MC there. Great turnout of really top-notch cars, and the crowd was pretty amazing. Of course, they have the green market going at the same time, so draws a lot of people in there, and of course, who doesn't want to walk around a bunch of beautiful cars? So, but that was a real good event, and worked on the T-type, on Dick's T-type a little bit this week. Ran into some snags on there, and last Sunday I went over to Arcadia and worked on Leo's 4200 Atlas motor, and got some pictures to show on that and give you a little rundown on what I found and where we're going from there. So it was a pretty busy weekend and week. And of course now I'm getting ready to leave Friday for Amelia Island, which is just north of Jacksonville, for the Concours D Elegance. Although my car doesn't fit age-wise in that show, but they do have the RADwood show on Saturday, which is a celebration of 80s and 90s, and I guess they do costume contests and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know if I would have worn anything different in the 80s and 90s than I do now, so I don't know how that's going to pan out, if they think what I'm wearing is a costume or not. But it should be a good show, good place, I think, to put the NASCAR out there, get people looking at it. It will be the first show that I actually will have for sale signs on it, so we'll see how that goes. Kind of my mindset is it's kind of north, kind of closer to NASCAR country than it is down here in the peninsula of Florida, so maybe we might be able to get somebody that's real keen on a Ford Taurus NASCAR, so we'll see how that all works out. Yeah, so that was pretty much the going on for the week. So let me go ahead and so we don't have get too caught up here for the whole show. So let's see here. Let's what did I do with Leo's stuff? We'll go with Leo's motor first. So, a little bit of a 4200 update. Why isn't that That's weird. I thought I downloaded those pictures. Hey John, how you doing? Sorry about I'm trying to find pictures. I just thought I just downloaded and I don't seem to see them now. Maybe I got to Maybe they went into the download section. Let me see here. Nope, they're not there. Wow, I don't know. All right, so let's do Joe's car first. So let me get that skewed up. Yeah, I'm doing well too, John. So, yeah, so kind of some of the stuff we went over, worked on this week. Let me go ahead and switch to the desktop. There's Joe's Corvette. I've shown pictures of that car before. And here's the engine bay. Now, this car's got a sniper on it right now. And been running kind of warm, and as you can see here up in this corner, it's got a pretty large radiator in it. So that was a concern of Joe's, and driving the car around, it definitely was getting warm. First thing I did find was it had a 180 thermostat in the car engine. So what it would do is it would immediately run about 185. And then riding around in traffic and stuff, it'd get up into the 200s, about 210, 220, depending on how long you sat. So after I did the thermostat, I was like, let me go after the timing, because the Sniper 2 and the ignition and all that was just put on this car, all these accessories and stuff. So try to get a timing light down in here, and as you can see, it's pretty crowded to get a timing light down there. So I took some pictures, and I could see that the timing tab was for an 8-inch balancer, and it's got a 7-inch balancer. And now looking at this picture, I can see another issue, but I didn't see it originally. So, common thing on small block Chevys is the balancer will spin. So the TDC mark is not accurate. So I wanted to spin the motor over, find TDC, and then so I could mark the balancer and stuff. So again, this is about the only angle you could actually see. So what I did was I trimmed the tab, and I left a new mark. Again, this is with a camera down low. Me looking over top of the accessories, I couldn't see any of this. Put timing light on it, and it was 10 degrees off. So then I shut it off, made the adjustment, started back up, and all of a sudden the original timing mark was back up where it was. So I'm like, oh, this thing's spinning freely. So I went under the car and took this picture, which I could clearly see, and let me enlarge it. But you can see the back of the balancer is worn smooth. So it's actually spun off of the hub, and it's riding on the timing cover, which is a good find, because eventually it'd wear right through the timing cover and we'd have a massive oil leak. And of course, here's the front, and this is where the balancer should be sitting, so you can see how far back it's moved. And like I said, originally I didn't see that from looking over the top of the engine with a timing light. So, and actually I never looked at the pictures I took, because I was just taking the pictures to show you guys tonight. So when I uploaded the pictures, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was clear as day. So a new balancer is is due. So we're going to go ahead and get that done. The other thing I noticed when I was running the engine is that the Sniper is showing 11 volts. Now, this is a Sniper 2 with the PDM. So they've just came out with this unit. And this is a power distribution module. And you run your... yeah, appreciate it, Ryan. I'm ashamed I didn't catch it right away. So this is the PDM. Your battery cables go into here. Let me show you the next picture. And you've got your outputs for your fans, your fuel pump, the ignition box, and of course to power up the Sniper system. Triggering of outputs for the fans. This only has 11 volts going to it. Now I checked the alternator. The alternator was putting out 14.2, and on the Dakota dash it shows 13.5 ish. So started looking around, we've talked about, anybody that's been on the channel before, we've talked about the Holley EFI and how it's supposed to be connected directly to the battery. So that was my first assumption, that the installer did not do that correctly. However, tracing the wires, it was correct. But here's the main thing. Here's the big thing. Let me rotate this. Look at that wire, 12 gauge. And I measured the harness from here, from the PDM back to the battery. It's 13 feet of wire. So the PDM is calling for, PDM is 100 amp output. That's what its max rating is for. So obviously, a 12 gauge wire going 13 feet is no way going to feed 100 amps. So that's the second part of our find here for the cooling system issue, is that the fans didn't sound very efficient. It didn't sound like they were really blowing a lot of air, and they are SPA fans, so they're good fans. So this will be one of the jobs for tomorrow, is to run some, it should be like an 8 gauge for that length, but I think I'm going to go ahead and run a 6 just to make sure. So we'll run a 6 gauge power and ground back to the battery and to the PDM, and that should fix the fan issue. And along with putting a new balancer on there, I think we're going to have our cooling system issues straightened out. So when I first started driving the car, like I said, it would immediately go to 185, and then in stop and go traffic would get up into the 220 range. So I put the 160 stat in there, and it dropped it down considerably, but it still heated up pretty quick to about 170, 175, and in stop and go traffic it would get to 200, but it would, the radiator is sufficient, because you get on the interstate and it would cool back down to about 175, 180, depending on how far you drove it. So getting the fans up to speed and fixing, being able to verify the timing and stuff, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape with this thing. So that'll be really good. We have to give that back to Joe. And the other thing that we were working on, so he took the, anybody's accustomed to the C3 chassis, they run a manual box, and then they run a hydraulic ram with a selector valve attached to the pitman arm. So when you steer the car, the selector valve feels which way the pitman arm is forcing, and that drives the hydraulic ram. Well, he took all that out and just put a regular quick ratio box in, and they put, I believe, a 16-to-1 ratio. Now the car is very, very sensitive, very twitchy at speed, where you want to change lanes, and the car is very quick to respond. When the other shop had put it together, I did align the car right after that, and the alignment specs were a little wonky. I went ahead and did that. A big thing on these C2s or C3s is to make sure that the rear suspension has the proper toe. It needs to be towed in to make the car want to drive straight. But that didn't really cure it. So when I got it down here to my place, I went ahead and put a little bit more caster in the front end. That seemed to help it quite a bit. And from our power steering shows, when we were talking about power steering systems, I put a restrictor in for the power steering flow, and I put a 2.0 gallon per minute valve in there. So obviously with the balancer, I haven't been able to drive it again yet, but I think that's going to do real well for taking care of that. So that should be pretty good there. So let me go back and see if I can locate Leo's stuff now. What did I do with that stuff? Oh, I may have put it in a folder. No, I don't know where I did with that. So that's weird. Let me see. So anyway, so let's talk about the car show this weekend. Let's see. Let me change some screens around here. Hopefully the background noise isn't too bad. We got some crazy wind going on down here. Okay. So this weekend I went to the Muscle OThe Beach car show. There's their flyer. This is actually a picture from last year, but it's a charity car show for Sandwood Marine Biology Center. So I think they raised $42,000. So pretty good deal there, and it's a really nice show field, old school square. Over, you don't see in this picture, but there's an old schoolhouse. There was a what do you call it? National, a historical site, and they moved it to this downtown area and kind of made it really good deal there. The whole downtown Atlantic Avenue section of Delray is all these little boutiques and restaurants and stuff. It's really very popular down there for everybody. So this is my buddy went up on the parking garage and got some pictures looking down in the field. So let me show you these. A couple of them. He was kind of trying to do a panoramic little deal there. Looks like these three are all the same angle. So this building up here in the corner is the old school building that was there, but really nice place for show. They had 160 spots. That was pretty much a sellout. There's the old school building. We ended up being up here in this corner, which was really nice because it kind of got warm. But yeah, there's my buddy Rob's Camaro and the Cup car, and so it was a really good show. Like I said, it was the first time I've been there. There's another angle. So really high caliber cars there, though. Some more different views there. There's from my vantage point looking across the crowd. A lot of spectators were there. Being they have a green market at the same time, so there's all these food vendors and stuff on the other side of the buildings, brings a lot of people into the area to take a look at, and they see cars and they want to come and see it. So here's the display I put up, trying to hone my presence for the Amelia Island show next weekend. I actually got a little signboard now with some detail. I'm going to make a newer version of that. That was just something I threw together there. I got new numbers on the side of the car, and I'm slowly working on these stickers, getting the ones that were all sun faded and cracked and stuff replaced. So I got these upper ones done. Now I'm going to go through and do these lower ones. Just keep updating the car a little bit as I go. For you guys that haven't seen it, there's the engine bay, which is the fake LS or fake Ford. It's really an LS. Little shot of the interior for maybe any new viewers. But very good show. My buddy Rob's 67 Camaro. I did this car a number of years ago. It's got full ride tech, suspension, 4-link rear suspension, big arm sway bars, 6-piston Willwood brakes up front and 4 in the back, and it's got a ZZ4 383 crate engine with a 4L70 transmission. And it's carbureted at this point. We are going to be doing a TKX transmission over the summer, and then eventually I'm going to start building him an LS engine, and he's going to do an LS swap in it. But great car. He's done some power tours with it. I think he's got probably 25,000 miles on the car, so it's worked out real well. And this is another friend of mine, Mike. I wired this car and put the Holley Terminator system in it and gave him some advice as he was putting the car together. Really beautiful car. He's actually moved out of the area now, so it was a pleasure seeing him at the show. And our buddy DJ Dave's Interior did this custom interior for this. Really beautiful work. Custom console and kick panels and stuff with the stereo in, and just really beautiful car. And this is Jonathan's car, my automatic transmission guy. I've done carburetors and water lines and stuff over the years. We've been friends probably 20 something years now, so I've helped him out over the car. This is an older build. This car probably was built I'd say about 25 years ago, so it's been around the block a little bit. A picture of the engine bay, which is like a hard stainless water lines I made for it probably 14 years ago. We just went through the carburetors a little bit ago, getting that straightened out, but really good car. This is a Chevelle that I actually just did an alignment on for another shop. They were working on the car, and they brought it to me, do a wheel alignment. But it was kind of cool seeing the car there. I didn't know it was going to be there. So, and I guess he was a previous Muscle on the Beach show winner. Really beautiful car. It's got an LT4 in it with I think it's got a 6L90 trans in it. This is another friend of ours. Dave and I went to high school with this guy, and it's Sniper on Sniper EFI on a Pontiac 455, and did some tuning and stuff on that. And this car is owned by another buddy of mine. It's got a 57 Chevy that I just tuned his Holley HP system. But this is one of his other cars. He didn't have the 57 with him, but this was a beautiful, all original car with the 265 in it. And a lot of the car is how he got the car. It was only thing it only has like 28,000 miles on it. And there's the interior of the car. I mean, just a very, very beautiful car, as were most of them at the show. So that was most of the cars that I knew. So these are just some more cars at the show, different ones that caught my eye. Real nice Dart. This thing was really cool. This is a real Dan Gurney Mustang road race car. And the story we got was it was owned by Dan Gurney's an attorney. And he raced the car back in the day and then sold it. And this gentleman has a restoration shop, but he found it in Miami at a gas station, which it was pretty beat up. Not a lot of the original stuff was there anymore. And actually had a bum living in it. But he bought the car and then did a complete frame-off restoration. And it took him about 8 years because it took some time to find the right components to get it back the way it was, but really nice car. Glad he brought it to the show. Old Dodge. Those are always 63 Savoy. I really like those cars. Really clean Chevelle. Another. This is another low mileage car. Numbers correct. Pretty impressive built car. Not even built, it's all original. Some 442s, GT350s. A couple of those cars I think were all owned by the same guy, big collector. Nice NCRS Corvette. Street rods and Malibus. It was amazing. Dave met me at the show, and we were walking around, and it was amazing how many 69 Chevelles were at this show. Typically, you only see maybe one or two, but there was a ton at this one, so we went ahead and checked them all out. But really nice quality cars. This was a Really nice bubble top. Pro street car. A nice blown big block in it. Another Chevelle. Firebird. 55 Resto Mod with the LS in it. Very clean car. I didn't get a picture of the wheels, but this thing had those hubcaps are actually 18-inch wheels, so it was really cool looking. There's a nice shot at the engine bay, very clean. Second gen Camaro, another 69 Chevelle. This one was a pretty much original SS396, if I remember correctly. Yep, big block. Nice Charger. Another 69 Chevelle. So Chevelles were in being honored at this show for sure. Really cool looking C2 Vette. And the Camaro, pretty clean street rod. Nice Falcon. And a nice Resto Mod C10 truck on air. Had 20-inch steelies on it. This was an odd car to see. You don't see them often. But it's a Carroll Shelby. I believe it's a Type 2. So it was an all hand-built by Shelby America car. If I remember correctly, they have this one had the hood shut, but from my memory serves me correctly, these had the Aurora V6 Oldsmobile V6 engines in them, which was a front-wheel drive engine, but in these cars it's a rear-wheel drive. But pretty cool to see one of these out and about. And this was the 46 Caddy that was at the Cool Wheel Show. Beautiful car. And this is a nice Mustang. I wanted to get a shot of the ITB throttle bodies, but I thought I got a picture, but it wasn't in the camera when I got looking at them. This was pretty cool. Black Trans Am with the CB with the Bandit hat on the antenna. Pretty cool. Very yellow Camaro. Another LS swap, but lots of yellow, and my thumb in the camera. This was a really nice T-Bird, Coyote swap. Pretty cool looking. I don't think I've seen one yet done like that, but it had real nice custom interior in it, and nice appointments in the trunk, including the leather suitcase. It's pretty cool. Another Highboy, and this was really cool. I haven't seen this done before. Ryan, you might dig this. Look at the painting that they did to the louvers on the hood. Really made them pop. Unfortunately, it's not a very good picture, but I had to use the same tan, and I think it was like a light green on those accents. Really made it pop. It caught my eye. And of course, this was the show winner at Cool Wheels this year, and the guy's done a great job keeping this car clean. This car supposedly was built 26 years ago for a SEMA build, and then he purchased the car afterwards. But I mean, it still looks like a current build. So I don't know how much he's had to redo on it, or if it's just been kept that well. But he got another trophy at this show. Nice Tempest. Another LS swap Chevelle. This was a really nice 64 Chevy LS swap. I probably was on air because it was sitting really low, but a nice clean job on the engine. And they retrofitted a late model retractable roof on it, which was pretty cool. And then they did a chrome plated Dakota Digital, but they took the dash bezel and had it all chrome plated. Really clean build. Another Mustang, GT 350. The other one I think was a GT also. This was a oddball, a Rambler Merlin. You don't see those out in the wild too often. It's a shame a lot of cars didn't have their hoods open. I don't know why people do that. I know they photograph better with the hood shut, but it's nice to see the engine bay and stuff. But another nice Deuce TR6, which again you don't see them this clean that often. And this was an older BMW. Again, I'd never even seen one of these before, so I thought it was pretty cool. This car was also a class winner up there. The gentleman and his kids that owned the car, his son was wearing his leather jacket from when he was in a car club when he was a teenager, and his daughter was wearing a poodle skirt, and they were all dressed up in costume. So real nice seeing him there. Another Model T. Another Mustang Shelby, which was pretty cool. And a hey Bill, how you doing? Hellcat Resto Mod Charger, or probably GTX, which they got SRT on it, but really nice Olds 442. And then Eleanor package was there. Whoop, I didn't mean to do that. Nice with a nice clean car. This was a pretty cool Charger with a old school. Sorry, man, I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. So, but it's got an old school Hemi 572 with a super. Actually, that's a Sniper intake. It's not supercharger, but really nice nice car. Now I can advance. Nice interior in it, and I think this car won Best of Show last year or the year before, so it's been around a little bit. Corvette that's been around the different shows. Nice Charger RT convertible, really clean. And Boss 357, so it's not original 302 anymore. They did a nice job with that. And this was my buddy Rob's buddy's 69 Chevelle, all blacked out. Nice Chevy pickup truck. Another nice Corvette. There's another picture of that 357. There, I did get an engine bay picture. Another C10. Yeah, it's a 38 Chevy. 40 Ford. It's funny, you don't see a lot of these street rods around anymore. This was a kind of odd combination, turbo Trans Am, but it didn't have a turbo motor in it, and it was on air ride with 20-inch wheels. Kind of weird, but it was cool. Another Trans Am. Really nice Chevy 2. Had an EFI motor, but I don't believe it was a LS. 67 Chevelle, I believe. And I took pictures. It's a nice OBS, so I took pictures from my buddy Chuck. I didn't get pictures of the inner fender wells. They had nice custom inner fender wells in it. But I wanted them to see that seat. That seat was really cool looking. Of course, they had a Dakota digital dash set up in his truck where Chuck's were going to go ahead and use a Holly 686. So, but all in all, it was a really good show. Really had a good time. For my first time there, and I'll definitely do that again. Very cool deal. Let me see if I can hook up real quick and show you guys the the problems I found on 4200. Well, I moved the pictures around, so I might not be able to find them. So anyway, while we're doing that, I mean, like I had mentioned, we're going to be doing Amelia Island this weekend. So just wanted to, for those that don't know, Amelia Island's like it's the Concours D Elegance, kind of like Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach is the king of the West Coast, and Amelia Island, they say, is the king of the East Coast. Now, I've never been to this show, so we'll see. But we're doing the RADwood show, which is on Saturday, and they bring more modern cars. So this year at RADwood, it's going to be 80s and 90s cars. So it'll feature all different kind of oddball cars from the 80s and 90s, and of course the tried and true 80s, 90s, and from what I hear, they also do they judge costume award, or they give awards out for costumes for the time frame. Like I said in the beginning of the show, not really sure. I'm going to wear what I always wear, and that was what I wore in the 90s too. So I don't know if that's going to count, but we'll see how that goes. And pretty cool venue. It's on the golf course at the Ritz-Carlton on Amelia Island, right on the beach, just north of Jacksonville. I guess it's the Amelia Island. I guess that's the name of the area, but looks like a really cool venue, and excited to go and see this and take the cup car up and see what, have some other people take a peek at it. So let me see if any of those pictures came up yet. I can't believe I lost those pictures. I probably put them in somebody's wrong file. Keep looking here for a second. Nope, that's all it's showing up. So why is that? Let me see if I can help this out a little bit. No, those aren't it. It's crazy. I can't believe those pictures are disappeared like that. Let me just look through some files here real quick. I may have dropped them in somebody else's folder. No. Ah, here they are. Just gotta look in the right folder. All right, so 42 update for anybody keeping tabs on the Atlas engine. So here's Leo's car over at his shop. I went over a while ago and put the turbo on, and we checked the valve lash, and we had a couple valves that were a little tight, and we found that number 2 exhaust valve was stuck. And I kind of thought that was what the original issue was, but I'm not sure if it is totally. But we went ahead and started pulling it down, and kind of hard to see in this picture. Let me see if I can rotate it. Yeah, maybe that's a little better. But this is cylinder number 2, and you can see this rocker is up a lot higher than this one. So this one was sticking down. So I cleaned the area with brake clean, and I used Dykem to mark the castings. So I could take a screwdriver and kind of gently nudge the spring, and it would pop. So my thought was that the spring is holding up because we have this casting lug here, And I thought maybe that's what's going on here. So that's what we did. I got the proper tools from off of eBay, but there's these are Kentmore tools. They grab the timing chain so you can take the cams out, and this tool bolts down on the cylinder head and then gives you a way to get the valves decompressing it apart. So there's a more of an upper view of the piece, and you can see it gives you a hole to get to the spark plug so you can put your air tool to air the cylinder up, which is convenient. So that one, sorry about that, guys, running over my mouth. So that cam is out now, and you can see the chain is being held tight by those chain holders. Here the cam is out. So the sprocket's still in. I went ahead and marked the timing chain where so the sprockets would be lined up correctly, and it gives us access to the valve train. And here's a picture with the air in the cylinder and the tool on it, and you just tighten that down and it depresses the retainer so you can remove the keepers and pull the spring and retainer out. Another angle. So, tool works great because these are like a pro stock bike spring, so they have like almost 3 times the spring, the seat pressure that the OEM natural aspirated springs would have, and it worked no problem at all. And then, of course, we put cable ties on the valve to hold the valve up, and then what I would do then is I'm looking at the witness marks on the Dykem to see where the rub was. And I really couldn't get a good picture of it, but you can kind of see there's a rub mark right there. So we went ahead and looked around, didn't really see any other locations of any rubbing going on. Just another angle. That's the rocker, the lifter tappet. Didn't see anything on the opposite side. So we thought we were in pretty good shape. So at that point, clean all the oil out of everything and start making a surgical clean area so that we could do some grinding on that casting to make some more clearance. So this lug here is only on this particular valve or at this particular spot because this is an oil feed passage under the head to lubricate the lifters and the camshafts. So that's why we assumed that was the reason why we have an issue here. It's the only one that has that. Just another angle. Another angle, you kind of get some more light over there, but you kind of see there was some wear marks on that piece. So we assumed that's where our issue had to be. So we started filling all the areas with rags, just to try to keep any metal shavings from getting anywhere around. This is not a new thing to go in and do some clearancing work on an assembled engine, but kind of just got to keep working your way, taping it off on all the areas where you've got solid aluminum, and packing all the cavities with rags, just to get as much composure. Here you can see now I got to tap it out and got a rag twisted up down into that passageway. So now basically all the clearancing, or all the places where shavings could get, are going to be now captured in these rags and stuff. Now, one thing I didn't get a picture of because I was actually doing the grinding is we used a grinder and used a shop vac to right at the grinder to suck all the fittings, all the shavings out. So pretty much you can just do it like that, but the more time you take, the more cavity packing you do, the better it will get. So then after we were done, put a new layer of Dicom on everything in that area in case we had an issue. Here you can see it's all, this is laid back a little bit more, and it's all good. Getting ready to do the reassembly. There's the tool pushing down on the valve stem, getting ready to put the keepers back in. Tool worked really well. Just for anybody that wants or is interested in 4200, there's the part number J44228-1. It's a really great tool. I picked this up on eBay for, I think I paid $80 for it, I think. Of course, if you had to buy it from Kent Moore, it was probably $200 or $300. And there's the engine reassembled. I didn't get a picture of it, but I did take a feeler gauge and went around the valve spring to casting and saw that we had 12 thousandths clearance all the way around, so figured we were in pretty good shape. And now the head's off. So after we got done doing all that, rotated the engine multiple times again, and lo and behold, the valve stuck again. So even though we saw a witness mark and we clearanced it, that valve was still sticking. So immediately removed the cylinder head and try to see what's going on. And what we've pretty much come up with, there's an oil passage right here that that feeds the VVT circuit. So in this engine, it's got a restrictor in place, and it's got like a 30 thousandths hole in it. And back here is another oiling passage, and this is where that casting in the head sits over top of this piece. So oil pressure comes out of the main galley, goes through the head gasket into that casting, and that's what lubricates the cylinder head. So let's see. So what I think has happened, I'll go back to this other slide here. I didn't get a picture of the cylinder head, so I dropped it off at my buddy Mike's at MJ. He's the one that does the valve jobs on these engines. And what I think has happened, this motor always had a tendency of leaking oil at this area, and past assemblies from self-racing occasionally would have coolant leaks. So when I assembled the engine, I used Halamar. It's a blue spray sealant, and you can see wherever the head gasket, the cylinder head didn't touch, there was a cavity. You can still see the blue Halamar buildup. And what I think has happened is, if you look like back here, you can kind of see a pretty thick buildup. I think what happened is it had this same buildup around this port here, and being it had hot oil in there, it washed it off the head gasket and into the oil passages in the cylinder head. Because when my buddy Mike took the cylinder head apart, he felt that the number 2 exhaust valves were very dry, and the number 1 and number 3 were lubricated. So he went ahead and checked the clearance in the guides. They were a little tight, but it may have been from a lack of oiling. So he went ahead and put them back to size and polished the valve stems, and is bringing me the head back. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a fixture and lube the cylinder head. I'm going to assemble the head with the cams and everything. I have to go back over to valves. There's some valves that are out of adjustment. And I'm going to go ahead and make a plate and pressurize the cylinder head and make sure that we're getting an adequate amount of flow through all of the passageways. So the valves and the valve guides are actually splash lubricated from the camshaft. So the oil will come out the sides of the journals, the caps, and splash onto the camshaft and stuff like that. And then that splashes on the rockers, and that's where you get your lubrication from. So let me go back and get a picture. Yeah, this. So you can see in this picture here, this cam tower, there's an oiling hole underneath there, and that's going to throw oil out as you know it's pressurized, and then these lobes grab it and fling oil over the cylinder head. Now the cylinder head was very wet with oil in it, so I never thought that to be an issue. But when we pulled the valves out of the guides, they were tight, and that is very possible, a great possibility that there's a lack of lubricant on that particular spot. So we're going to go ahead and pressurize that before I take the head back and put it back on Leo's engine. Because one, I'm going to check it with full flow, and then two, I'm going to check it with a restrictor, because that engine block does have a restrictor in there. And when Self-Racing built this engine originally, they put restrictors in there because it doesn't have hydraulic lifters anymore. So there's no sense having the top of the engine pumped full of oil and then have to worry about drainage and all that stuff. Because in this engine, the drains are next to the crank throws, which could create a windage situation in the bottom end. So I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting before we take it back and put it on the engine, and make sure that this is not an issue anymore. So we'll see. And I'm going to go back through my notes and look when I reassembled this engine in the first place, or when we tore it down for the first place, because there was a stuck valve, and maybe the restrictor in this motor is different. I know this block has only been run in this combination. The last block that they had done for Leo, that one, a rod broke and it windowed the block. So this block is a new one. And from Leo's notes, from the old engine to this engine, there is a restrictor size difference. So something that we need to go back over and look at. These are kind of the issues when you're working on a one-off race engine, especially when the original designer and builder of the engine is no longer with us. They've passed away. So, this is the kind of complications you can run into, because, they had years of technology in these engines, running them in Comp Eliminator. This engine was originally built in 2005 for Drag Week. It was in a Chevy 2 wagon. So, this was a development process that they did a long time ago, and now we're having to retrack and retrace all their footsteps to make sure we have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. Hey, Chris, a little late. Yeah, no problem, man. So that was unfortunate fine, but a fine nevertheless that we're going to correct. I'm glad that it turned up then, instead of being an ongoing issue that could be catastrophic down the road. So I'm really happy about that. One other, so that's pretty much the update on Leo's motor. We're going to go ahead and get that straightened out and put back together. The other thing, kind of a somber thing I found on the internet yesterday and today. Let's see here. Where did I put that stuff? Here it is. And I'm sure you guys have seen it on Facebook and stuff. But I think today Gene Winfield passed away. I don't remember how old he was, but I know he was in his mid to late 90s, still hammering sheet metal and stuff. So the car culture is really going to miss this guy. And he was a custom car builder extraordinaire. He did such great jobs on there, on chopping tops and stuff all the way back into the 50s and in the late 40s and stuff. Definitely going to be sorely missed. And another guy that any of the drag racing fans would know, Steve Schmidt. He was really big in the all the way into current days, building high-end drag engines, but especially in the 90s and the 2000s in pro stock. He was one of the big innovators of the big motors and the 500-inch motors. I think he was I could be wrong, but I think he was the first guy to do lease programs on pro stock engines. Yeah, Ryan, Gene Winfield was definitely an icon. Definitely gonna be missed. I'm glad that he was able to get on like Ian Russell and Fast and Loud and Iron Resurrection and other shows that he was able to get on, so that the younger people that maybe don't recognize the name from magazines and stuff, but they got to see what he was about. Even Ken Diggett, he was on a couple episodes of Ken Diggett where he was showing the guys the old school way of playing, running sheet metal and working it, stretching and shrinking and stuff like that. Just a real craftsman, actually artist, craftsman, and even those monikers don't even amplify what he was. Like you said, icon. But so unfortunately, as we get up in age, more of our heroes and the founding fathers of the car culture are slowly aging out. So it's a real bummer. But hopefully people keep their thoughts and stuff in their minds and stuff. I know. That's one of the reasons why I try to do tech stuff on here, for the same reason. Not that I'm anywhere near moving on, but I just, while I'm still doing the craft, I want to put that stuff out there so it's on the internet, so it'll be there for a long time. Ryan says I learned a lot watching Gene. Yeah, he was great, and it was kind of funny. Yeah, there you go. I learned the lead. Awesome. Yeah, spell check is great, isn't it? But yeah, those are the things that, modern body guys don't really do lead and stay away from it. But that was a craft back in the day. Before they used a lot of plastic fillers, or even before they had fillers, lead was what they used. They pour it on and then work it with files and then sand it and especially body seams and joints like that. That was, all the way up into probably into the late 2000s. They were still using lead for quarter to roof seams. Nowadays they make a seam and put a molding over it so they don't have to use the leads. Obviously, we all know lead is a toxic product, but if you use it safely, and with the proper safety gear, it's still a good thing to work with. But yeah, that's really a bummer when you see these things on the internet. But that was what I had to show. I know we had talked about finishing up the engine assembly video, our blueprinting series. We did the bottom end on that 351 Windsor a couple shows ago. I've had issues with the 8.1. The latest issue was the crank snout doesn't use a keyway, so my normal engine turning tools won't work on that. And I was able to use a tool with a set screw when I first put the crank in, but as I got all 8 cylinders in, 8 pistons and rods, and now there's enough drag that won't hold, and I don't want to mar the crank. And I found out at that time that the front of the crank, I mean, that is like a late model in the modern metric world, that they changed on that particular engine. The crankshaft has a 16 by 1.5 crank bolt in it, and of course all the crank hub installers are 16 by 2, just like the LS is. And so I didn't have any way of turning the engine. I didn't even have any hardware that would of that size. So was able to get the crank bolt from Chevrolet, which I picked up yesterday. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'll be able to finish that up tomorrow. So we'll have that to show next week. We'll go ahead and finish up that blueprinting series. And of course I'll have pictures and possibly some video from RADwood from Amelia Island next week. Hopefully, I don't want to say the 4-letter word starting with R, but my good buddy Mike at Spaghetti Models, Mike's Weather, he's saying there might be some rain in that area, and definitely on Sunday for the Concours D Elegance, but maybe in the afternoon for RADwood. So fingers crossed the rain will hold off until my portion of the show is done, and we can get some pictures. There's supposed to be about 250 cars in RADwood, and then they're expecting 300 cars in Cars and Caffeine. So in total, over 500 cars that on Saturday. I'm not 100% sure on the layout of the venue yet. They did send me a map where RADwood is going to be, which is going to be in the fairway in front of the Ritz-Carlton. But I don't know exactly where the Cars and Caffeine part of the show is going to be. Hopefully it'll be in close proximity, so I can get some video or pictures or whatever on that part of the show. So look forward to that next week. That'll be basically what we're going to have for the show next week. And that'll be episode 85. It's incredible to think that 85 weeks we've been doing this live show. So pretty crazy. And for anybody who wants to show their buddies any of these shows, besides going and searching the live feeds, YouTube now has added a podcast button to the homepage. So I put all these in the podcast channel. Ryan laughs. He says, my wife says I'm a 4-letter word starting with R. Yes, you are. But not the one that makes outdoor events miserable. Not at all. So, yeah, hopefully the weather doesn't make it miserable. They are going to have the car show rain or shine. But, of course, being I've got the Joey, the Phillips crew mannequin, and the race car isn't sealed up. It will be a bummer if it's raining. I'll have to cover everything up and won't be able to display. So we'll see how all that goes. That's all, a lot of things can happen. It's still 4 or 5 days away yet. So we'll see how all that works out. Oh, and I will have, because I have to load the trailer with the Cup car, I'll get Dave's car out and we'll get some video or some pictures at least of the interior, and maybe a walk around video of the car and the engine bay and stuff, because that stuff's all pretty much done. I still do have a little bit of video, a little bit of finished work to do to the dash. Unfortunately, we had to cut that short and get the car to the paint shop because they had a window open for us to get the car in. So I need to just clean up a couple little things on the dashboard, and then we'll be ready to start getting our 100 miles of road testing done to it, so that we can hand it off to Dave and Kim, and they can start enjoying their car. So, I did talk about, I might have mentioned Dick's T-Type in the beginning of the show for the guys that came in late. Making progress on his car, trying to make sure that we found tons of things not finished, plumbing and mounting and stuff like that. So above and beyond the wiring of the Holley system. So I haven't even got to that part yet. So I wanted to go over to valve train, make sure the valves were adjusted right, because once all the stuff is in the car, that area gets pretty crowded pretty quick, and it would be real easy to take the valve covers off right now when there's no cooling hoses and wiring and all that stuff in the way. In doing that, I went ahead and was going to prime the engine, and found out that the fitting locations for the oiling for the turbo, which I thought would have been plugged because there was no hose going to it, so hopefully you wouldn't have an open passageway. But I was wrong, and it was open passageway. So priming the engine, I dumped 5 quarts of oil on the ground. So that was a nice cleanup that was could have been avoided. And then I went ahead and started plumbing the turbo so I could finish doing the valve adjustments and finish the priming the engine. And when I was looking at the turbo, obviously it didn't have a feed line. Well, it doesn't have a drain hose either. So started making a drain hose for the engine, and realized that the engine has a 4.1 block, not a turbo 3.8 block. And unfortunately, the shop that installed, put the engine together and or put the engine in the car, failed to see that, and so there is no hole in the block to put the return, and it has a Steph's nice aluminum oil pan, and there's no fitting on the oil pan to return the oil. So looks like now the engine has to come out of the car, and we're going to have to do some bigger amount of surgery. So unfortunately, for a job that was supposed to be 2-3 weeks in and out, this thing just this snowball keeps rolling downhill, and right now it's about the size of a 2-story house. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's getting any smaller. So that's really put a hinder on future work in the shop, but got to get it done. So that's where we're at with that. And obviously, being out of the shop for the last couple of weeks, Chuck and Dave haven't made much advancement on getting the chassis finished painted. It's just about done, and then we can start reinstalling all the suspension, and then get it back to where we can get it outside, get the engine bay cleaned up and painted, and then start putting that thing together. So another project that will be really cool coming down the road here. So I see it's a little after 8. I think we're going to go, and that's pretty much all I had for the week. I really appreciate everybody coming out. Looks like we had about almost 80 people check in tonight, so that was pretty cool. And you guys that hang in there for the entire show, I really appreciate it. It's great to have you guys coming around and watching me babble about endless things sometimes, but I appreciate it. Hopefully, whatever technical information I do give out is helpful in your guys' projects. And for everybody, any new listeners out there, the whole thing with this show is it's a tech show for me, and show you what's going on in the shop and what's going on in the car show world or racing, depending on what we're doing that week. But also want you guys to be involved and ask questions and bring up things about maybe your project and stuff like that. I've said this in the past. I don't know if I've reiterated this lately, but if you have a project and you want to show everybody, email me the pictures, and I'll put a little slideshow together, and we can go over what you guys are doing. So trying to make this a car community. This is a feedback back and forth between me and you guys. And for other technical stuff, when we're doing regular video content, those are on the show. And of course, you can always go in and do comments on that stuff. But this is more of a live deal where we can talk live about it. And if there's any video content you see, then you have a question and you want to bring it up and you don't want to wait for a reply, come see us on a Tuesday night and bring it up and we can go over it. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and pull the plug on tonight. Like I said, again, I really appreciate everybody coming out and watching. If you could do me a favor, smash the thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's free. Doesn't cost you nothing. You're not going to get spam or anything from it. And help us grow the channel so we can keep this stuff going on. So with that, I think we're gonna we're gonna pull the plug, and that's it. So see you guys. See you next week.